Hello, everyone.
Hi, Bob.
Ron, we'll get to you. You're number 7. So my name's Bob, and I have the honor tonight of being Tim's best man, which obviously is only in title only, as Tim is truly the best man tonight. I'd like to introduce... Thank you. My wife gave me that line. I'd like to introduce you to the lead flower girl here. This is Heidi, who is my daughter. Heidi, take your seat. Thank you. Heidi, how do you know Mr. Tim?
He's my godfather.
Very good. What do you like about Mr. Tim?
This Heather with him too.
When he visits, he brings with Heather. Very good. So a little bit of background. I met Tim when he was living with our mutual friend, Paul. I take a deep breath there because that's a speech on itself, for those of you who know Paul, but we're not going to go there tonight. During this time, I shared multiple beers and pizza with Tim, and then some more beers and more pizza, and this is where I really got to know him. I got to see the multiple ways in which he demonstrated his character for me as one of my good friends. One of these examples was the time in which I'll leave out details and I'll explain why in a second. But Tim nearly killed himself while he was trying to help me push out my dad's truck. Dad, can you raise your hand for me? Thank you, he's here. He doesn't know the story. Helped me push out his truck out of a snow embankment when we were up north, of which Tim told me not to drive through in the first place. And again, I'm sparing the details because I know as a medical professional that Heather is, she would kill me if she heard why I thought this was a good idea. But in the same token, then Heather and I will discuss doing a hernia exam during medical school. We'll talk about that later, Heather. I heard about this. All right. The second is the time that he volunteered to help us bring Paul's boat to the shore to get pulled out. But what I didn't realize at the time, and nor did Tim, is that Paul knew full well that there was not a chance in hell that this boat would make it to shore, given the engine trouble that we were having. So as we waited for this boat to be landed, we look over and there's Tim in the middle of the lake, just hanging out, drinking beer, doing whatever he's going to do because the boat motor won't start. So it was accurate, it didn't make it halfway. So Tim has a huge heart, and we all know that. He's a model friend, and more importantly for me, someone that I want my daughter to look up to. He's faithful and faith-filled. My wife and I, who's sitting on the end...
I come over here.
Oh, she's doing it. Could not be happier having you, Tim, as our daughter's godfather, and we absolutely love having you involved in our children's lives. You're a dedicated man to your family, to others, and interestingly and most importantly, to strangers. You never turn anyone down. I could not have asked for a better reason to fly out to California to celebrate with you and Heather. But in reality, with the abysmal weather we're having in Wisconsin, it didn't take much. But again, in my opinion isn't the most important here. Right, Heidi?
Right, Dad.
Heidi? Is Mr. Tim a good godfather?
No, he's a great godfather.
Oh, good answer. Now, why is Mr. Tim a great godfather?
He comes to all my birthdays. He makes her for me, and he makes her for me.
He FaceTimes, comes to all her birthdays, and makes time for her. All my kids love Mr. Tim. But with all the great things that you are, Tim, there's always two sides to every coin, so we're going to visit that. Now, the stories I'm going to tell may not be what you're expecting, because my wife ixnayed many of these stories before I was able to do that. And with many of my friends, I started a text chain, and I had a lot of good material here, but again, we can't bring this to light here. There's children present. Some of my favorite stories, though, come from the guys' weekends we had in northern Wisconsin. Are you ready, Tim?
No.
First off, we all know how concerned Tim is about the way that he looks and about his clothes. So it still remains to this day that he's the only guy I know when we go up for Guys Week and that would still iron his clothes. Twice. He's also the only one who brings a bottle of wine to Guys Fishing Tournament weekend. And he's the only one who goes into town 25 minutes away to get a coffee because the Folgers we have is not good enough. Which, for those of you who don't know, this is why he was late to his own dress rehearsal yesterday. I can't make this up. So, as weird as you are, my friend Tim, this makes me wonder, why are we here? Heidi, why are we here? Right, for a girl.
She's not a girl, Dad. She's a beautiful lady.
Oh, that's right. She is a beautiful lady. Tim, you've really outdone yourself here. Heather, you're incredible. I already believe Tim to be the luckiest man in the world today. Your organizational skills, your humor, your family-centered approach, your understanding and compassion is something that I've seen that make you an excellent spouse and a care provider for Tim. It's easy to see why my daughter Heidi loves it when you come to visit so much, and why Sarah and I think so highly of you. Sarah and I both see so many things that make you guys a perfect match, and we'd be here all night if I went through all. We love seeing you guys be a young couple, both growing together through pictures, stories, and just hanging out. So as you guys demonstrate in other speeches, Tim, you found one of life's greatest gifts tonight. You found a best friend. And each time after we talk, Tim, I have trouble falling asleep because I'm trying to figure out, A, how you managed to find her, B, how she went on a date with you. But then I stopped thinking about this and I realized that the real question is not any of those. It's what are you doing to keep her around? Okay? Heidi, do you have any ideas how Mr. Tim keeps Miss Heather around?
He's paying her.
He's paying her.
Tim, can I have some money?
Heidi, that's right. But how is he paying her?
With love and with honor and with commitment.
Right, with love and honor and commitment. Nice job. So Heidi's right. What I've learned in her short 5 years of life is she's always right. Now, Heidi, why are you always right?
Because my name starts with an H, like Miss Heather.
Very good. Because her name starts with an H, like Miss Heather. Tim, I want to make sure you heard that. We're now getting to the portion of the speech where I'm supposed to give you advice. So let's review the first and most important lesson. Heidi, who is always right?
Miss Heather.
Okay. Lesson number 2. Tim, little things that bother you don't matter. Let them go. Focus on the big picture. Well, that was serious. Number 3. Except under extenuating circumstances, the toilet seat should never remain in the upright position for more than 1 minute.
Never.
Never. Heidi, do you have number 4?
You should have 4 kids like my mom and dad.
4 kids like my mom and my dad. Very good, Heidi. Amen. Number 5, transparency. From schedules to true feelings, guys. This will help in everything you do. Number 6, continue to assume the best in each other. This is something we've already seen that you guys do very well, and this will continue to serve you. I threw this one in for Ron. Number 7, don't do anything like Ron. Okay. Last week. Number 1, Tim. Number 1. Tim, in all seriousness, don't ever change. You're amazing, and you have an amazing bride. We cross paths for a reason, and I'm excited to see what our families are going to do as they continue to cross paths in the future. So, Tim and Heather, please.
Wow, yep. Well done.
And ladies and gentlemen, we do have another toast giver. How about a huge round of applause for the father of our bride, Larry?